in the post on Reddit, the actual assignment post as a comment, or we have our channel here, which is called, I believe it's called Submission. I made it, I should know. Yeah, weekly submission. So you have that channel under the photo class bracket there, and you can submit your photo there. What will then happen is that the mentors, um, so Sean and I are the teachers. We're writing the material, we're posting it, we're doing the logistical stuff with some help. The mentors, for example, we have David, who is my podcast partner. He's here right now as well. He's one of our mentors. So the mentors will go through these submissions and they will give feedback on them based on the lesson. So if the lesson is about color, for example, they're going to focus on that part of it more than they're going to focus on the other things like composition or subject or what have you. As the class continues and we build on the different skills that you're going to learn, that feedback will become more specific to everything. So by the end of it, the feedback will be about everything as opposed to focusing in on the one lesson, if that makes sense. That way you guys can build upon each lesson and incorporate it into the next ones, is the idea. And it also gives the mentors something to focus on to make sure that the feedback you're getting is relevant to what we're talking about, because it's very possible that you're not thinking about the composition, you're only thinking about the color because that was your assignment. So we want that to be noted, and we want that to be what we're trying to do. So you get the feedback. You're able to ask questions at any point, and myself, Sean, the mentors are all here to answer. The other good thing about the Discord is that we also have the 52 weeks happening in here. So there's a lot of different levels of photographers hanging out in here who do different types of photography. So any questions that you have, if you want to present it to everyone, please do. Like, honestly, this is one of the most supportive communities that I've come across, and they're really happy to help and answer questions. So don't feel shy. Don't feel like it's two teams. Think of it as one big community that are just focusing on different projects at the time. So that's the basic structure of it. The way it's going to break down is we're going to start with kind of the simplest idea of what is photography, what is a camera. And now again, this might sound silly to some of you, but I will urge those of you who have a little bit of prior knowledge to read the lessons anyway, because there might be a tidbit in there that you didn't think about, but also be supportive to those who are completely new and don't know what a focal length is and don't know what the numbers on a lens are. So if somebody has a question and you know the answer, hop in and help them out. Then we're going to kind of move from the basic stuff into more specific techniques. We're going to talk about editing pretty early on. That was some feedback I got from someone who did a previous lesson. They said that they didn't hit editing and organization until about halfway through, and by that point they had like 10,000 photos that were just all over the place, and it was really hard for them to kind of retroactively organize. So we're going to hit that kind of stuff pretty early on. As far as editing, because everybody is using different stuff, oh, Jeff, your mic is on. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so for example, sorry, I lost my train of thought because now I want to play canasta with Jeff's wife. So yeah, so we're going to go from the basic stuff to some more advanced things. And we're going to focus on not just the technical stuff, we're also going to focus on the art side of it. So that's kind of my strong suit. Sean's strong suit is more of the technical stuff. So the two of us are kind of working together to make sure that it's fully developed. So we will go through things like shutter speed and ISO and scene modes and RAW versus JPEG and all of that. But we're also going to focus a lot on composition. We're going to focus on color theory. That's my favorite. Those of you who know me, who have been around, you know I get excited about color theory time. We're going to also talk about other artists, other photographers, other artists of different media, and how to learn how to be inspired by photographers and other artists to help you. We're going to spend some time learning how to read photos. So looking at photos or looking at different bits of art to understand how to actually digest it in a meaningful way, which will help you in your work. I have a bit of an art history background, not a very all-encompassing one, but a little bit. So we're going to kind of play with that a little bit as far as how to then translate that into your own work. And then, like I said, there's going to be the summer break. I say summer, I think most of you are probably in the Northern Hemisphere because it's like the middle of the night in the Southern Hemisphere right now, for Australians at least. So the summer break is going to be, I think it comes to like 6 weeks. And in that time, there's going to be a project, like I said, that's open for you to focus in on. We'll also have kind of like if you ever did like the summer reading lists, we're going to have something kind of equivalent to that, where it's going to be tiny little micro exercises that you can do on your own. You don't have to, but it's a good way to keep your brain working during the time off. We found that when we looked at the previous classes, we found that a lot of people ended up dropping out in the summer. And this was because everyone is busy in the summer in different ways. So we thought this was a great way to kind of keep the learning happening and keep the community engaged while not feeling like forcing you guys to be coming to class every week and doing an assignment every week. It's not necessarily feasible for everyone. So then when we come back, the second semester is going to be more advanced stuff. It's going to be like Photo 201 instead of 101. And the entire semester is going to be building on this final project. And the final project will be something of your choosing. We're here, the mentors are here to help you decide what that might be, because you might be like, I don't know what I want to do. We're also here to support you with maybe what you want to do requires some information that you haven't gotten in the class yet, or maybe you need a refresher. So that's what we're here for that. There will still be the weekly class and the weekly assignment, but you're going to be able to build on that for your final project. And then the final project will be due by, like, I think when we looked at the calendar, it ended up being like December 8th, something like that. So that gives you plenty of time, you know, before the holidays to kind of settle in and be done. And what I would like to do is do like a virtual exhibition of everything at the end, if we can. It'd be cool if we could do an actual proper physical one, but that might take a little bit more work, and I have to kind of ponder that. But I think we'll at least do like a virtual exhibition of everybody's final projects. How does that sound? Does that sound reasonable? It's okay, Jeff. I'm going to pretend everyone's giving me a thumbs up. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, guys. Okay, thank you. Sometimes, you know, I'm sure all of you have done like Zoom meetings, and it's like sometimes you feel like you're just talking at yourself. And I've just been staring at this cat that's in the chat, pretending I'm talking to the cat. So with that all in mind, does anyone have any other questions? And you can type them in if you don't want to talk, you don't want to speak. It's okay. I can also, I'll go through the FAQ. So we do have some questions that I think everybody had. The main one, Alex already kind of touched upon, which was, what if I don't have like a DSLR or a mirrorless or something? That's completely fine. I suggest using an app that allows you to change settings and so forth. That will make your life easier. Somebody asked about film. Absolutely, you can use film. I use film. Right now, that's all I have, actually. You need to submit the picture late. That's fine. Just remember that it might delay the mentors getting back to you. The other question that comes up, is it actually free? Yes, it is actually free. There's nothing that myself or Sean will require you to pay. All the information will be available. We are talking about doing a physical copy of the lessons that you can download or have printed and sent to you. The printing and sent to you would have to cost a little bit of money, but it wouldn't be a profit for us. It would just be to cover the printing costs if that's what you wanted. Otherwise, we'll do a digital download, a PDF digital download that will be available. That doesn't cost any money either. Another question, what will we cover? We're going to cover settings, composition, color theory. A fun one that I like is genre exploration. That's something we did for the first time in the 52 weeks this year. And I'm not going to speak for you guys, but those of you who did it, I think that was a fun one for everyone because it got you trying some different stuff. We're going to talk about organization and post-processing. The important thing with post-processing is that everybody uses different editing apps, different processing apps. So we're going to be very broad on that. If you have specific questions about Lightroom, Capture One, Darktable, whichever ones you're using, please ask them because somebody will have an answer for you. We're going to talk about lighting. This one can be a little intimidating because not everybody is going to want to or need to invest in lighting. That said, when we get to artificial lighting, I'm literally just using a lamp right now, so you'll be able to do that kind of thing as well. Just use what you have available to you. The big thing that I strongly believe in and that I try to translate to these classes in the 52 weeks is that this shouldn't be like a big expense for you. There should be no you should be able to use what you have and learn with what you have already. So we're going to talk about giving and receiving meaningful, constructive, actionable feedback. That's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. It's also important to know that giving feedback has just as much value as receiving it, sometimes more. That's going to come when we talk about how to read a photo. How do I upload my photos? We talked a little bit about that. For Reddit, when you go to submit as a comment on Reddit, you can use like Imager or IBB or Flickr or whatever you want to use as a host in order to post it as a comment. I would, you can use Instagram and stuff as well. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I will say that like those of us who are still using like old Reddit, having like Imager there is great because it just populates automatically. But use whatever you're comfortable with to submit the photo. When does it begin? It starts January 1st, which is scarily soon, to be honest. A little stressed about how soon it is, but it's coming up. January 1st, the first class will go live. The first class will last the week with the assignment in that week. Submit it when you can. Technically, the deadlines are like when the next lesson goes live. But remember that the mentors will be checking in periodically. What other questions did we get a lot of? Let's see. People asked about the hard deadline. This is the same thing. It's not a hard deadline, but it is strongly, strongly recommended just because that's the best way for our mentors to keep track and be able to give feedback in a quick and appropriate way. Let's see. I'm trying to see what other questions people had asked just in case. Some people asked if they had to join the Discord or if Reddit's enough. Reddit's enough, but as you can see, the Discord has a pretty good community. I would love to get it even more lively and even more engaged, so you guys would be crucial in that. The more questions and the more answers and the more just general conversations that we have on the Discord, the better the community is, the stronger it is, and the more supportive it will be for everybody. Let's see. Somebody asked if only a prime lens would be okay. So for those who aren't sure what that means, a prime lens does not zoom. It is a one focal length. It stays at one focal length. If you want to zoom, I'm using air quotes there because it's not really zooming. If you want to get closer to your subject, you have to walk closer to your subject with a prime lens. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. There might be a couple of lessons that don't necessarily apply directly, like changing your focal length. If you only have one prime lens, that's not really relevant to you. But again, anything that's not relevant to you, read it, try to understand it, and then, don't worry too much about it. Alex says, thank you for not calling it zooming. You know how I try to be very careful with my verbiage. So you're welcome. All right, does anyone have any other questions? Okay, Jeff says, are the classes live? If so, what time? Assume they are recorded. Great. So the classes aren't live just because that would be incredibly difficult. I'm currently in Istanbul. Sean is in Perth. Sorry, Sean is in Perth. And then our mentors are scattered around Kentucky, Chicago, Florida, California, everywhere. Maybe like almost all of our mentors are in America, but Sean and I are not. So that would be really difficult. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to post the class text at the same time every week. Probably do it on Sean's time just because that will give the most amount of time for it to go up, so those of you in America will get it like a day early, if you will. So we'll probably do that. And then any like videos that will go along with it, we'll try to have them prepared and go up at the same time. We will try our best to do things like this at least once a month. I promised this last year with the 52 weeks challenge, and then my life exploded a little bit, so it didn't happen. But I will also encourage anyone who is in the Discord, who wants to get on a voice chat and chat with people, just do it and see who joins in. Don't worry if myself or Sean aren't there or any of the mentors. If you feel like you have some questions and you want to chat about the class and we're not around, please do so. And then again, we'll probably have a PDF version that you can download. My only suggestion, if you do download the PDF version, I would recommend not reading ahead. I think it's better to go at the same pace as we're releasing them because we're doing it very intentionally, we're doing it very thoughtfully, and I think that would be a benefit for you, is to stick with the way that we're exploring it. Did I answer your question sufficiently? All right. Any other questions? I got some thumbs up. Thank you. Nice. I love a thumbs up. I can't believe I was meant to record this from the beginning and then I completely forgot. So it's going to be this weird like start in the middle thing. So I apologize for those of you who are watching this later. That was my bad. Okay, I see Alex is typing. Is the other content in the community related to the photo class, i.e. the challenges, the podcasts, etc.? I feel like Alex knows the answer and he's just trying to throw me a bone here, so I will absolutely answer this wonderful question. So technically they're not related directly. They are related insofar as that they are kind of my baby, with the help of different people for different portions of it. So, for example, the podcast is David, um, who is here. He's the little black and white person in the middle there, David. He's my there he is. If you listen to the podcast, you will recognize his wonderfully smooth voice against my crass, accented one. So David helps out with the podcast. He's my co-host. He also does the editing of it. Sean is the one that's writing the photo class with me, and then the 52 weeks challenge I write on my own. But David helps out, and people like Alex and Jeff, who have been here for years, and Lizzie Vincent, they've been here for a few years, so they're very helpful as well. That said, they are related insofar as that we're under this whole umbrella together, which we're calling Focal Point. And the Focal Point umbrella is really here to build a supportive, positive community. So don't feel like you need to live in your little camp. This should be all one happy Focal Point family. And we should be supportive of each other. You can also do both at the same time. The cool thing about the 52 weeks challenge is that it's not experience level specific. I try very hard to make sure that brand new beginners and really long time experienced photographers can take part in the 52 weeks challenge. It doesn't interfere with, nor does it work against the photo class. So if you are doing the photo class and you want to jump in and do the 52 weeks challenge as well, please do. You can even use the 52 weeks challenge maybe to help with your photo class. You also don't feel like you need to do every single one. So if you're doing the photo class and that wants to be your focus on that. And then once in a while, if you see a prompt that interests you, please feel free to do it and post it with the 52 weeks challenge portion. And Jeff says, community aspect is great, some lively and humorous discourse on the Discord. I like discourse on the Discord. We try to keep it light here. We try to, the big thing is that I want to foster, and that everybody here does a really good job of fostering, is a very, very positive community. There's no real toxicity. There's no competition. There's no... When people have feedback, for instance, it's always constructive. It's always encouraging. It's always done with actionable feedback, meaning, let's say someone posts a portrait and you see something that could be done differently that would make it better. That's always how feedback is approached here. So we try to keep that way. Sometimes I ramble as well, so keep that in mind, especially when I'm talking to myself as I am right now. Cool. So what other questions do you guys have about photo class or anything else? If you have questions outside of specifically to the photo class that we can talk about as a group, I'm open to that. Okay. I want to make sure that everybody has what they want answered and talked about before we close it. So I just want to give everyone a chance. If you have any other thoughts, to please type them in or just turn on your microphone and say it. There's been some good questions so far, but I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance. Is there a place where we can see the mentors work to get a feel of their strengths and specialties? We are working on it. That's a very good question. I have a list of all the mentors. I have their introductions. I am working on setting up a page on my site with links to all of them and their experiences. That way, let's say you're a landscape photographer, you know which mentor maybe you want to speak with the most. If you're into equine, David's your man. If you do sports, we have an incredible sports photographer who does NBA shoots in Chicago now. He's been all over. He was in Texas for a while. I believe he's in Chicago now. So depending on what your interests are, we have a mentor for you, and I will make a list with links to their things, to their work, so you know who is the one you kind of want to focus in on. Keep in mind that we should be respectful of their time as well. They will be doing this in their free time as a volunteer position. None of us are getting paid for this. So let's just try to remember that if you have questions for them, for a specific mentor, they know that you can email them, message them at any time. They're comfortable with that. But just remember, if they don't get back to you right away, it's not a slight to you. They're probably just busy at that moment, or maybe they have a lot of other feedback that they're going through. So just try to be patient with them. That's all. Sin says, well, will the class go over different genres of photography, i.e. wildlife, street, etc.? Is it more of a theory class? That makes complete sense. Yes, it's going to go over multitudes of genres. We're going to try to cover as many genres as we can. The other thing is that most of the challenges and the exercises are not going to be genre specific, and they should be transferable to whatever genre you are most interested in. The caveat to that will be the exploring genres segment, unit, in which we are going to be focused on a specific genre. So like 1 week might be landscape specific. But everything is going to be transferable. So if we're talking about shutter speed and you're a landscape photographer, maybe you're going to be focusing on showing movement in grass. Or if you're a sports photographer, you're going to focus on getting that basketball completely still. Okay. Okay, what other questions do we have? Sorry guys, I had to pull out of the class for 1 second. Let me come right back in. I saw someone typing. Just give me 1 second to get it back. Okay, someone is typing. Sin, did that answer your question? Get a thumbs up if it did. I'm actually curious for everyone here what genres you're actually most interested in. So maybe I can get a thumbs up if you're like a landscape photographer. What about, okay, I see a couple. What about street? Do we have street interest? Excellent. Yes. That's my area of expertise, so I'm happy to have that. What about portraits? Do we have portrait photographers or aspiring? Good. Wildlife, birding. Yeah, good. Okay. We have a lot of birders in the Discord, so you're in good hands if you're into that. What genres? Sports? Any sports guys or gals or others? Okay. Good. Family photographers. Maybe you're interested in starting a family photography business or just your own family. Okay. All right, good. This is all good to know. This will help us as we're going forward. Great. We have another question here. Apology if this question that got mentioned already. How does this work at all? Is it that any one of us is going to submit their homework for a given assignment? Whichever mentor is free will reach out, or is it that it's up to us to reach out to mentors? Great. So the first part of that question, I mentioned it a little bit before. Don't apologize. I know you weren't here. So the way it works is that each week there will be an assignment that is related to the lesson. You are going to post your photo on Reddit. It will be on the actual assignment post as a comment. On Discord, it will be in a channel specifically for submissions. The mentors will go through and will give feedback based on what they see. They're going to try to go through from the earliest submission up. If there is a specific mentor that you want to work more closely with, feel free to reach out to them and ask. Otherwise, it's going to be whichever mentor gets there. It's very possible that more than one mentor will give you feedback as well. So you should be also getting varying bits of feedback from different types of photographers. But like I said, if there is someone that you want to work with more closely, feel free to reach out to them. Just remember that they might not have the bandwidth to focus in on one person specifically, but they'll probably take note of that and try their best to give the support where they can. And then, mostly landscape reportage. Good, street reportage, that's kind of my thing as well, so that's great. Macro, I didn't think about macro. Any macro photographers? It's a very specific one. Okay, we got a couple, great. You see why this guy does podcasts? You hear that voice? Isn't that insane? Thank you, David. That's very helpful. Great. What other questions? Oh, good. We got to thank you. What other questions do you guys have? It's okay, buddy. My 3-year-old has one of my cameras right now. He wanted to play with it. You can play with it, buddy. It's here. Go for it. It has bad film in it, so he can do whatever he wants. Probably won't get it developed. All right, what other questions do you guys have? These are all been very good. Some of these questions I didn't even think about, so I'm glad that you asked them. All right, what about, what do we do now between now and January? Feel free, like I said, feel free. I think the biggest thing would be to get comfortable with your camera. If you're using your phone, download that app as soon as you can so you can learn how to use the app because the UI is different in all of them. If you're using a new camera, it sounds silly, I know, to a lot of people, but honestly, read the manual. Camera manuals are not like refrigerator manuals. They're actually incredibly well-written resources, and not just about like what button does what. They teach you about actual photography as well. So if you are getting to know your camera, or even if you've had your camera for a long time and there's just bits of it that you don't know fully yet, read the manual. The manual is a really great resource. And then other things you can do between now and January are you can look at our photo class website to kind of get a gist. If you're into YouTube, there's some YouTube channels that people find a lot pretty helpful. If you have one that you like, feel free to pop it in the comments here. I don't watch a lot of YouTube just because I don't really have the attention span for it, so I'm not the best to give advice on which channels to watch. All I know is the ones that I don't like. So, and we try to keep it positive here, so I'm not going to trash talk anybody. But if you have ones that you like, pop them in the comments for everybody. Okay. Is the advice on editing post-processing going to be tailored to professional software subscriptions like Adobe? Can I use other stuff, Affinity, Darktable, something free? No, they are not tailored to specific software. Yes, you may use whatever software you want. If, I mentioned this before, but if you have questions specific to your software, please ask them in the Discord or on the Reddit. Somebody will have an answer for you. Somebody has used that software and can help you, or at least guide you to a resource. We are going to keep the editing post-processing organization unit very broad, very open, so that it isn't alienating for any specific software. A lot of people use Lightroom, but a lot of people don't. People use Capture One. Some people are using Affinity. I love Affinity. There's another one. What is it that I use? Let me check. That was a one-time payment thing. Maybe I took it off my computer. I don't remember. I'll find out, and we'll make a list of some different softwares. Our photography actually has a good list that the mod team we've been writing and adding to as a living document. So if you want some suggestions on which software to use, go to the FAQ, the facts on our photography. Under the post-processing section, you'll see a list, and a lot of them are free. Great. All right. Any last questions or any last thoughts that I can address? All right. Well, with that in mind, oh, I got a typing. Let's wait. Catch my breath a little bit. Here we go. So B says, between now and January, go out and shoot. Yes, please. Well, go out and photograph. Trying my verbiage again. Yeah, take your camera, go out, take pictures of whatever. Look at some of the old 52 weeks submissions. Maybe you'll see some things that you can do that will kind of spark something in you. If you're home, you're stuck at home. We did the 52 weeks challenge through COVID where I was living, which was Prague. We couldn't leave our apartments at all. So there's stuff in there that you can even do from home if you're not able to go out a lot. So have a look at some of the old 52 weeks challenges, see if anything kind of prompts your memory or sparks some interest. I also have on my site, and I'll link them, I have a color theory and a composition post that maybe will help you a little bit get started. We're going to use those as a base in this class, but they're going to be expanded upon quite a bit. Vincent says, share your photos too and ask any questions as they come up. So 100%. You'll see some of the people in the comments here, Bees, Vincent, Jeff, David. They've been around for years, and they're in this Discord, and they're a great representation of how supportive this community is. So take their advice when they say to go out and shoot and to come in and share your photos and ask questions. I'm just waiting on typing here. Again, if you have any last questions, please either say them or type them in the box. Okay. Okay, that's a good question. I'm just going to read it first. It says, if you have time to answer this, yes, I do. Hopefully it's not an offensive question. It's hard to offend me. Why do you do this? You've been doing it for a long time now, and it must be a significant investment of effort. It is a significant investment of effort, but honestly, I do it because I enjoy doing it. That sounds really trite, but I've made some really good friends, really good contacts through this. I'm inspired by participants in the challenge. It's good for me to have a project as well, even if I don't have the time. I just enjoy doing it, and I like to teach. I'm currently in a education program, and then I will be doing a master's of instructional design. So this is something that I'm really focused on. I've been a teacher and a trainer for, longer than I want to say. I was a trainer for Apple for years, so I spent a lot of time learning how to teach, learning how to train, and what I enjoy teaching and training is photography more than anything. So that's why I do it, because it gives me an outlet for that. So it's my own personal outlet. That's a good question. It's a completely reasonable question to ask. There's no real ulterior motives for me. Like I said, I have like 3 Patreons, so it's not like I get a lot of money out of it. But the community that I've built, I'm very, very proud of. I like that people are able to have conversations with each other and they know each other now. And some people have met up in person and do photo projects together in person. It's really great to have my name attached to something like that. So thank you for asking that very reasonable question. We have a couple other typing here that answers it. Great. And it's okay to be cynical about that kind of thing. So I completely understand. Okay, we just got some typing, so I'm just waiting on that in case you're wondering. And I will say I've been very happy to see all the introductions and everybody sharing their photos already in the introduction and in the showcase channels. I'd love to see, people come in with the introduction and then we don't see them again until maybe the class starts. It's better if you're engaged right from the beginning. You're going to make some contacts, some relationships that will help you throughout the class. So please feel free to jump into any of the channels, the Photography General channels, to share photos that you've taken, to ask questions, to give feedback. This is a huge one. Don't feel like just because you're new that you cannot give feedback. Absolutely you can. Everybody's looking at photos in a different way. So if you go through the feedback channel and you have some thoughts, please share them. There's no like hierarchy here. We're all doing this together. So don't feel like you have to have reached a certain stage in your photography. And please call yourselves photographers. That one I could go on like a rant for 3 days. You are a photographer already. There's no like, at least not in most countries, there's no like paper you have to earn. So you are photographers. Please give feedback. Please have conversations, and so on in the Discord already. And let's get any last questions in. So I want to make sure that we're all, okay, here we go. Going to Vietnam next week. It's a tour, so nothing will be done properly and time will be too short. However, during the time I do have, I'd like to try my hand for the first time at street photography. Great. Would it be more instructive to try to do it with the zoom lens I have used the most, or a prime like a 50 for the pros supposed to be doing? Okay, so there's a couple ways that you can approach this. There's always a benefit to using what you're most comfortable with. Your street photography, especially in a place like Vietnam where there's like smaller alleyways and smaller streets, you might find the 50 being a little bit tight in some of the areas, whereas a 27 would give you a little bit of more breathing room and you're more comfortable with the 27. That said, I wouldn't discourage you from bringing both if you can and seeing what you're comfortable with. I've traveled with just a 50. I do a lot of street photography with a more cropped in, but I think you'll have both. Okay, great. So I would say the cool thing about the 27 to 157 is it does give you some room for movement. The 27 is a great focal length for street photography. The thing you're going to find in like a place like that, which you might be comfortable with, the more frenetic areas, is it's going to be maybe a little bit difficult to make your subject stand out from whatever else is going around, whatever frenetic things are happening behind you. So maybe you'd find the 50 would be fun for that, just to give you a little bit of more separation. But if you're not having a lot of time to like do you and because you're going to be with a tour, I might suggest to go with what you're comfortable with, because that will give you a little bit more confidence. Yeah, no second chances, exactly. So if you're using what you're more comfortable with, and what you're more comfortable with also is giving you the availability to change your focal length. That's probably the safer route to go, to be honest. I wouldn't really worry that it's a f4, especially is it full frame, or no, this is a crop. F4 is fine. You can do more in Florence. Yeah, I would probably go with what you're comfortable with, just because you're not on your own time, so you don't want to kind of pigeonhole yourself and then regret it later. But keep the 50 in your pocket just in case. The 50 is good for like street portraiture too, so you're welcome. And please, please, please share the pictures. And we want to see. So when you come back, share whatever you get, okay? All right. Are there any other questions that we can hit before? It's been about an hour. I think we covered everything I wanted to cover, but I want to make sure that everybody has what they want answered. Ezra, don't do that. What? My son is currently carrying my Minolta with his toe. Don't do that. Don't. Why not? Because you could break it, and I'd be very upset. Thank you. 3-year-olds. Good. So any other questions, guys, before we finish up? Okay. So Vincent asked about New York 2024. He is referring to the ongoing conversation we've been having about an in-person workshop in New York next year. Most of that, the only reason that is we're not committed to that is because I'm not sure where I'm going to be when. But the general idea would be, Alex says +2. The general idea would be a weekend-long workshop in New York. For those who don't know, I'm from New York, grew up there. I currently live a nomadic lifestyle. I don't like to say I'm a digital nomad because it comes with all kinds of connotations, and I've been doing it longer than the word, I think, at this point. Anyway, so the general idea is a weekend-long workshop that would approach street photography and then also environmental portraiture with a couple models, an actress who would be more straight portrait, headshot type portraiture, and an artist, a musician who's an avant-garde musician, one of my really close friends who would be more of a creative portraiture. And we'd also do a cityscape nighttime shoot as well. And it would all culminate with an exhibit at a cafe slash theater that I have in mind. In theory, this would be happening in the autumn of next year, September, October. Just need to figure out my schedule. And we kind of, as a group here, the ones that are talking, we kind of came up with a price for that of about $750, which would include the printing and all the classes, as well as the model's time and so on. So that's what they're talking about. It's in very early planning stages. That's mostly due to, again, me not knowing where I will be when. So in theory, we're looking at autumn 2024. I should have more information by the end of the year for that. I hope that was sufficient, Vincent. All right. Yeah, okay, great. No, it's a good... No, that was fair. I appreciate it. All right. Jeff votes for late October. Okay, good to know. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out. Good. So if there are no further questions, if there are, start typing now so I can see it. Okay. I'm going to take that as we're all good. If you have questions that you think of later, please pop them in the Discord. If you want to ask me personally, you don't want to do it publicly, send me a DM. Totally cool. You could also email me if that's more your speed. Chelsea@clundon.me. It's supposed to be C London, but it's just Clundon. So you can email me. You can call me, page me if you want to reach me. No one? Okay. Um, so that was Kim Possible reference. I'll make a lot of bad, like, 90s, early aughts references as well, so I hope you guys are cool with that. If you're cool with that, we're all good. So I think we can kind of close out here. Like I said, if you have other questions, please ask me or ask the Discord. There's lots of good minds there. And please share your photos starting now. Okay? Don't feel like you need to wait. As soon as we hang up, go find your favorite photo, pop it in the showcase, pop it in one of the Photography General channels, and just start talking to each other. And we'll be in a good position starting in January. So thank you. It was nice meeting your avatars and hearing one of your voices. So thank you guys. Again, if you have questions, find me, and I'm gonna go to bed because it's late for me, but you guys enjoy the rest of your days and the rest of your weekend. So thank you. We'll see you guys on the Discord. Tschüss, viel Spaß. Oh, thanks. You're welcome. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.